I'd like to welcome everybody to this month's POSSE Pen, which is the perks of a paper planner, a subject near and dear to my heart. Those of you who are new to this call, my name is G. Marie Herron, and I am what's known as a CPO, which is a certified professional organizer. I've owned and managed a company called POSSE Partners since 2005, and my goal is always to improve the peace, performance, and quality of people's lives through the transference of both organizing and productivity skills. So that's what I aim to do here today. And we're going to talk about the perks of a paper planner. So just a little housekeeping. My assistant, Deborah, is on the call. She's going to handle all the questions, which you can put in the chat box. And everybody is being muted at this time. The call is being recorded. And she'll also put in the chat box any past recordings that you might like to listen to. But each month, the recording goes into my following e-zine. So if you're not on my e-zine list, go ahead and join that, and you'll always have the recording. So the presentation, it used to be an hour, and now it's down to a half an hour because I'm back to work with my physical clients. So that being said, I'm going to kind of go through my part of the presentation. So hold all your questions and I'll get to it in about 15, 20 minutes. And to let you all know that next month's pen is going to be Don't Let Your Garage Frighten You. There is a method and a madness to my tricks and treats. And we've had a lot of productivity topics these last couple months. So I want to go back to a residential topic. But it doesn't matter whether it's a 3-bay garage, your silverware drawer, your junk drawer, the methodology to space organization is the same, and that's what I'm going to teach you next month. All right, and so we're going to do Ask the Organizer when I'm done, and then we will close, and you will all be out of here on time, I promise. Okay, so a lot of people see me, a professional organizer, with a paper planner, or they ask me what I use. And I have been using a paper planner since I can remember. You know, back in the day, a couple years ago, schools stopped giving out paper planners when they started giving out computers, depending on where the children were. And that was one of the saddest days in my life, because when I started using a paper planner in high school, I couldn't believe what it did for my time management. And I didn't have the word power to understand it back then. But then when I went to college, I made sure that I bought my own, you know, teacher, if you will, student planner to keep me organized. And then when I went into the corporate world, I also purchased my own planner, and I was basically an executive admin, and I lived, ate, and breathed with that planner because that is how I strategized everything. So when I started my company and I started adding on workplace productivity to my residential organizing, people always wanted to know, well, you know, what do you do? What's your favorite time management tool? And my favorite time management tool has always been a paper planner. I do have one foot in paper and one foot in digital, and some things I definitely use digital for because there's lots of advantages to both. But when it comes to actually planning my life, planning my day, planning my week, planning my month, planning my year, I find neurologically it's best for me to put it on paper. I've worked with a lot of people who have tried digital and want to go back to paper. I had a client who ran an IT company and he went back to paper. So it's not for everybody, but today I want to talk about the advantages and some disadvantages of using a paper planner. The great news is in my, oops, I'm trying to, there we go. Still learning how to deal with all these buttons on a virtual program. The great news is that what I've been thinking for the last 15 years as a CPO is actually now being backed by science. So Deb is going to put in the chat box a wonderful blog on the science that backs up the benefits of using a paper planner. But this particular blog talks about the fact that when you use a paper planner, you're less distracted. Well, that should be kind of obvious because we know when we go into our phones or our computers, there's a myriad of distractions to take our focus away from any kind of planning. So there's distractions. There's less distractions when you use a paper planner. It talks about how you remember things better. It talks about how using a paper planner gives you more motivation, less stress, And finally, that it's a healthy habit. And it's all now scientifically based, which I love, and I agree with everything. And I love the last bullet in particular, that it's a healthy habit, because to me, great organization is all about putting great habits and routines in place in order to get more out of your life. So that's what I learned from the science article. And now what I want to do is I want to give you POSSE'S spin on the perks of using a paper planner. So back in the day, because I'm not going out too much anymore, I'm not going into, networking meetings. There's somebody that's not muted, so whoever that is, if you could please mute yourself, it would be appreciated. So back in the day when I was out doing a lot of networking, I had a pen, and on the pen for my company, it would say, think it, ink it. So for the purpose of today, I want to say, think it, ink it, achieve it. Because that's what writing your thoughts, your plans, your projects, your goals, your tasks, your to-dos will do for you when you put it down on paper. Because you're going to think it, and then you're going to ink it. And once you do those two things, you have a fantastic chance of achieving it. So I do believe that when you use a paper planner, it is a phenomenal extended memory, just like science is saying now. And we are all living in a day and a time when we cannot possibly remember everything that comes into our heads. And we need a tool, again, whether it's digital or paper, we need a tool that gives us an extended memory, just like an extra hard drive. When you write in a paper planner, it will help you prioritize, clarify, and determine the importance of what it is you're writing. So for example, if you were to look at my paper planner, which is right here. I'm going to tell you which one I use later. On my list for today, Wednesday, September 16th, I have a line item that says Amber gift. So Amber is my niece. She's away at college, and her birthday is on September 22nd. And I want to remember to get her a gift. And I apologize. My dog Maggie is shaking in the back, and if you can hear her collar, I apologize. But this is the world we are living in, virtually. So anyways, when I write Amber gift in my daily planner, it'll help me prioritize, clarify, and determine the importance of whether or not I want to get her a birthday present, which I do. But it's in this list with lots of other tasks and to do today. And I will figure out, is it important enough for me to do today? Or do I have so much else to do today that I just might move getting a gift for Amber to tomorrow, because I still have enough time to purchase it. So I think this bullet is very important when we're writing. When you write down your tasks and to-dos, it will decrease your procrastination, and it will definitely increase your productivity. And I'm a big Jack Canfield fan, and I learned from reading several of his books that we have something in our brains called our reticular activating system. And when you write something down, and it's also very similar to when you use pictures on a vision board, this part of your brain called the reticular activating system will start to percolate on how to get things done. So, if you've ever written something down or used a vision board and then kind of forgot about it, and 4 years later, all of a sudden you found yourself on that vacation that was on your vision board or in your goals, this is what's happening. So the minute we get it out of our heads and onto paper, our brain starts to go to work to figure out how to get things done, which I think is just fabulous. And I love what John Maxwell says, which is if you don't write down your ideas, there is a great danger that you will lose them. Okay. So what does one actually write in a paper planner? And I want to just talk about the basics as well as the options. So one might put I hope one is putting their tasks and to-dos. So that's a definite, that's a standard, that's not an option. That's what should go into a paper planner, your tasks and your to-dos. Your scheduled appointments, now this is probably an option. A lot of people are doing their calendars digitally. And I also am a big G Suite fan, and I have a Google Calendar in my iPhone, and that is my #1 place for appointments because I do need to be mobile. I carry it with me everywhere. So if somebody asks me, if I have time, Thursday at 5 o'clock, the phone comes out. So that's sort of the Bible of my appointments, but I do take the trouble to rewrite them in my planner, because when I rewrite my appointments in my planner and it's right in line with where my tasks and to-dos are, it really helps me see the white space that I have between my appointments. And that white space is when I can get things done. So if today my time is scheduled, for POSSE'S Pen between 10:45 and 11:45, because I do things with Deb before and after, and then I'm going to a client from 1:30 to 4:30, I know that I have time in the morning to get things done, and I know that I have time in the late afternoon. And that is a time management opportunity. So that's why I personally rewrite my appointments, even though they're also in my phone. The other thing you can do in a paper planner is you can put down your projects near and far. So let's say that you want to write a book, and maybe you're giving yourself a year or two to write a book. In your planner, what are you going to do either today, this week, or this month to help you chunk down that project? So another valuable thing that can go into your planner. Goals near and far. You're probably wondering why I have this picture of a cabin on this paper planner slide. And this image represents a long-term goal that I have. I am hoping to have a mountain house, lake house, and I'm thinking June 2024, because that's when college will be done for my children. And I really want to live in an area like this. Well, those 4 years are going to go very quickly. And if I don't figure out what steps I need to take in order to get to that home, it's may not happen, or it might happen, but it might be 10 years. Anyways, I use the planner to help me with my goals. It's great for putting down thoughts. So let's just say, I noticed my dog has low energy. Well, maybe I want to change her dog food. That thought will go in my planner, change Maggie's dog food. So it's a great place to put your thoughts. It's a great idea for what I call brain dumps. So, I had a thought last night. It was not a panic attack, but, I have 2 children in college right now. And with this whole COVID thing, they're both going to be coming home at Thanksgiving and, working virtually. And all of a sudden, I'm going to go from cooking for 2 people back to cooking for 4 people. And I got 1 vegan, 1 with celiac, 1 who just wants, spaghetti. And then I like to eat healthy. And I started to think, oh, I don't want to cook 7 nights a week like that. So I had a brain dump, and I actually figured out a cooking schedule with all 4 of us. And you're going to think I'm crazy, but I think about these things. So I use my planner to do the brain dump to figure out, who's going to cook when. And they're going to have to deal with me having a family meeting when they come home. So doodles. A lot of people like to doodle. I am not a doodler, but a lot of people will doodle in their planner, because when they're doodling, their creative juices are flowing and they're processing information. So a lot of people will doodle in their planner. And then I like to use it as a Post-it substitute. So I see lots of clients who have Post-its all over their desk. So instead of using Post-its, I like to put those Post-it thoughts, concepts, whatever they are, into the planner. So if, I go to grab a Post-it and I want to write down, I just got a text from a client and she says, Jean Marie, I've decided I want to take the chandelier with me when I move, and I'm responsible for the whole move management of that particular client. I need to now call the moving company and find out about crating and electrician. So instead of putting that information quickly on a Post-it, I'll grab my planner and I have an area for notes in my planner. So these are some ideas, suggestions that you can use when you use a paper planner. But the big announcement that I want to make on this whole concept of using a paper planner is what your paper planner should do for you is to answer this big question. You ready for the question? If not now, when? So world's best productivity question ever. If not now, when? So your planner should allow you to take all those tasks, to-dos, appointments, thoughts, brain dumps, and say, if not now, when? That's what your planner should do for you. It should afford you the opportunity to schedule the unscheduled. I would highly recommend you create time estimates. So for example, if I have plotted out tomorrow an hour to draft my e-zine for October, I know over the years it takes me about an hour to do that, so I will block out an hour. So create time estimates when you're setting up your plans in your planner. Use it as your morning and evening news. Many people don't do the morning and evening news anymore, but the idea of starting your day and ending your day with your planner, I do that every single day. I look at it in between as well, and I like to say one home. So one home for your plans. Use the same product, if you will, the same planner, and go to it all the time. So if not now, when? That's what your planner should be able to do for you, is answer that question. Because whenever something pops into your head and you really want to get that done, that's the question you have to answer. Okay, so evaluate your needs on a planner. All planners are different. You could be in Staples or Office Depot for a half an hour perusing the products. You could be online. I'm going to have Deb put in a chat box a link to a blog that talked about, they had done a kind of like a recommendation of some wonderful paper planners, budget friendly, more expensive. You can always call me or email me or text me outside of here if you're looking for something and you want some ideas. But you want to ask yourself these questions. Do you want it to be desktop or mobile? And what I mean by that is, are you going to leave it, on your desk, on your dining room table, in your kitchen, whatever works for you? Or do you want to be able to throw it in your pocketbook, your backpack, your briefcase? Do you want short or long lists? Do you want to be able to write a lot or write a little? Different planners have different components. Some people might want, components for long-range goals. Some people might want a section for passwords. Everybody's going to use it differently. Do you need a section for expenses, etc.? And you definitely want to look at the views and the glances. I personally love a week at a glance. Some people prefer a day, some people prefer a month. It doesn't matter. Just be really honest with yourself and what you think your needs are. Is there a budget? I think the blog ranges $7 to $70. Mine's about $50, but it's priceless. It is a productivity tool that you will come to know and love if you really give it a try and turn it into a habit. And then you get to the point where you almost don't care what you spend on it because it is just like, gold sitting on your desk. And choose function over beauty. So when you're first starting out with a planner, don't really worry about what it looks like, and just think, how does it function for me? How can I tweak it? How can I make it better? Each year when I order my planner for the next year, I think, what did I love about what I did this year? Do I want the same one? Do I want to try something a little different? And I actually use a planner from a company called plannerpads.com. There's a wonderful tutorial on their homepage. It's 2 minutes and 39 seconds, and they offer a 100% money-back guarantee if you don't love it within 6 months. I found this planner about 13 years ago when I was at a NAPO conference, and it won Product of the Year. And I have used it ever since. I did try at different points to go digital, and I always came back. And if you watch the tutorial, what I really love about this particular planner is it acts like a big funnel system. And at the top, I have kind of my life categories and my weekly goals, and it funnels them down into my tasks and to-dos in the middle band, and then my schedule at the bottom. So if you decide that's the way you want to go and you have questions, again, don't hesitate to get in touch with me. So evaluate your needs before you go out and purchase one or switch. Okay, so presently we're going to get to Q&A. I want to give you guys at least 10 minutes or so for Q&A, and want to invite you to my next pen, which I spoke about earlier, which is Don't Let Your Garage Frighten You. There is a method to my tips, tricks, techniques, and solutions, and it'll all, even though it's about how to organize the garage per se, and that's a particular space, it's really how to organize any space in your home. So the pens are always the third Wednesday of each month. They're now from 11 to 11:30. So I hope you can join us. This is how to register. Deb can also put that in the chat box. But right now I want to be able to get to your questions. So I'm going to ask Deb to unmute herself and let me know what's in the chat box. So I'm going to stop sharing at the moment. I'm going to come back to you all. So here I am. So Deb, what do we have?
Sharon would like to know, what is the name of the planner you use? I know that was on the screen, but let's repeat it.
Yeah, sure. It's plannerpads, plural.com. So Deb will put it in the chat, plannerpads.com. They have been around for 40 years. And on that website, there is a fantastic tutorial. It'll take 2 minutes of your time and it'll explain the product in depth.
And I also put a link in the chat for the bullet journal. Did you want to address that?
Oh, so, and I think Sharon is on the call. Sharon was asking me yesterday about bullet journals. So I do know several people who love to use them. And those folks, they're my colleagues, are completely different brain type than myself. So you've got left brain and right brain. And I find that bullet journals work really, really well for your very creative types. And I think, Deb, you put a link in the chat box for bullet journaling.
It's just bulletjournal.com.
Yeah. For me, it's a little complicated. My brain doesn't think the way the inventor invented it. But, you know, watch the tutorial and see what you think. I just think that a basic paper planner is easier, but there are some diehard bullet journal fans out there. Lots of stuff on YouTube for it. And, you know, you don't have to listen to anything I say. Go out there and explore yourself. And that's a pretty inexpensive thing to do. I mean, you could basically just take a notebook and start bullet journaling.
Hi, Jean Marie.
Thanks, Sharon, for the question.
Hi, yeah, you're welcome. And I did use the bullet journal for about a year, but you're right, it is definitely, it was a little more time consuming for me than I wanted because there's a lot of moving things forward and backward, and it worked great, but I just didn't find the time I needed. But it is for creative people because you really can get creative with it and make it really fun. And I did enjoy that part. I used all different color pens. So for somebody who wants to have a little fun with their planner, it's definitely the way to go, but you just need a little extra time, I think.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
Okay. Does anybody else want to talk about maybe a planner they're using and they love, or parts of it that they wish were different?
Evelyn says, I also like a paper planner as a backup just in case you misplace your cell phone or lose power. So that is a really good point. Yeah. I never thought about printing out my week from my digital planner, which of course you can. That might be a really great hybrid also.
Yeah. Yes.
Personally, I do most things digital, but I was telling Jean Marie the other day, I have a wall calendar for all my family, my doctor's appointments, haircuts, my husband's appointments, to keep personal and business tasks and appointments separate. So a lot of people, I think, use a hybrid like that.
Yes. Yeah, I'd say at this point, most people have, you know, their feet in both worlds. So you really have to just be honest with yourself what works. I love a wall calendar, a paper calendar for the family stuff. And making a printout if you are digital and being able to slip that, you know, in your pocketbook when you go, that's fantastic. The other thing is, so if you have a paper planner and you take it somewhere and you lose it, that's a real hardship. So, you know, there, again, pluses and minuses. So mine never leaves my office unless I'm presenting or showing a client how to use it, because it's that important to me. But really, you know, weigh your options. There's tons of digital opportunities out there. And many, many people are really trying to do absolutely everything on their phone these days. But I think depending on maybe your age or your eyes or your attention span, sometimes it's really hard to do all that on a phone. And being able to sit down and neurologically process it again, you know, out of the head, through the hands, onto the paper. I think there's a lot to be said about strategizing that way.
I have a question. When you use your paper planner and you're talking about your big goals, how is that moved from week to week or month to month? Is there a special section for that? Or are you writing it all over every week? Or
That's a great question. So in this particular planner, plannerpads.com, it has 3 bands. And the top band, it says weekly list of activities by categories. So, you know, my organizer brain is always thinking categorically. And even my time management happens categorically. So what I mean by this is I put my life categories at the top. So for example, I have a column that says JM. I have a column that says Deb. I have a column that says Posse. I have a column that says, you know, Ridgewood Chamber of Commerce. I have a column that says, you know, family or house, whatever I want my life categories to be. So with the example of the long-term goal of owning a mountain house, you know, I'll have that category house, and I'll put the steps this week that I want to take. So for example, this week, I wanted to do a Google search or an internet search of the best lake communities to live in America. So really simple, but that was the only goal I had this week, was to actually find out, you know, what lake communities are being reported as, you know, wonderful quality of life, you know, what does it cost, etc. And then next week, my life categories are pretty much the same. So next week, I'll also have a Jean Marie column, a Deb column, a Posse column, but my weekly goals will change. So going back to that example of the house, if I did the internet search this week, maybe next week I saw a town like Lake Lure, North Carolina, and it struck me as, ooh, you know, I really kind of like that. So maybe next week under that house category, I would put, you know, explore, you know, Lake Lure, et cetera, so that I'm not overwhelmed each week by that 4-year goal, but I'm continually taking steps. So if I didn't get something done, I move it over. But if I got something done, I say to myself, if not now, when, or what is my next step? And then it goes over. So I hope that answered it. But all of your life categories will change, you know. So, you know, for example, under my Posse category this week, you know, I might have things like my October newsletter. I might have, you know, a CRM campaign. You know, underneath my Deb category, I might have, you know, the Zoom recording. I might have my CRM for my realtor campaign. A thought came into my head recently on Calendly, and I thought to myself, do I set up Calendly for my virtual organizing? Well, that went in the Deb column, and Deb doesn't even know anything about it yet because it's written here, but at the end of the week, I will say, you know what, I never talked to Deb about Calendly, and then I'll have a conversation or an email with her, and I'll decide, do I want to do that? And if I do, then I move it over, and what would my next step be if I wanted to implement Calendly? Okay, I either overwhelmed everybody or underwhelmed you all. We have 1 minute left.
Jean Marie, it's Sharon again. If I could just add something you said before about, you know, the fear of losing a paper planner. Okay. When I did have my bullet journal, on the very front page, I wrote, if found, please call Sharon, and I just put my phone number. I didn't put my last name, but I just thought that if I ever lost it, I would be so upset, and I would hope that whoever found it would call me and let me know. So that was just my little tip.
Love that. Love that tip.
I lose everything. You should include, you got to include in there $50 reward. Because really that $50 is nothing. I lose everything. And believe me, I put it in my glasses when I order them, you know, or you can engrave your iPod. Remember the little iPod? $50 reward, which, you know, you got to give more incentive, but still.
Yeah, my son just went off to college, and my son has got a really nice case of ADHD, and he touched everything, you know, iPad, computer, cell phone, the charging cords. I did it all, labeled everything, And that's a wonderful tip. So for those of you who don't know what a P-Touch is, it's a label maker. Buy a label maker and label everything. It'll help you whether or not you lose something or you're trying to deal with all the black wires underneath your desk and how do I, put my electronics back together. So
one more tip. I know we're at the end, but do not put your own phone number on your phone. On your phone and iPad, you have to put somebody else's phone number.
Yep. So I wasn't trying to be a helicopter parent, but I did put my phone number on the back of his phone.
Life skills.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to be punctual. Thank you all for coming. I hope to see you all next month. And if you know of anybody that needs any residential organizing or workplace productivity, don't keep me a secret. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye, everybody.